Hello there, sword friends. It's been a hot minute since my last video, but I'm back and I'm going to share with you some fun stuff that was sent to me from sword friend Ian not too long ago. Now, I have had this big box of swords waiting for me to look at for, well, at least the better part of a week, and I haven't gotten a chance to do it, but now the weekend's here, I have a free moment. I'm going to open up this box, which is primarily, as I understand it, at least swords from Landsknecht Emporium, and I'm going to give you some initial thoughts. I will later do a more thorough review. I'm not going to break them. Ian wants them back and in good order, I would imagine, but I am going to put them through the paces that I put the previous Landsknecht Emporium piece through, and hopefully my camera work has gotten a little better and you'll be able to see things about the swords that are helpful. At least that's the goal. But for now, I'm going to open up the box, make sure they arrived okay, and then give you some initial impressions on what I think about the swords, because, well, I don't have time to do much of anything else. So anyway, all right, so before I get started, I'm going to just point out that I've already got a little bit of shipping damage here. Now, this isn't really the result of anything other than UPS maybe kicking the swords all the way over here, but I can see that the quillin's been damaged, so any grief I might give the quillin is likely a result of it scraping against the concrete. I think it'll buff out, so to speak, or at least it's not going to be too terrible to resolve the issue as far as I can tell, but do know that we've got a little shipping damage here. How should I get in? No, that's not the right way. Quite an assortment of things here. Okie doke. So now I think sword friend Ian is left-handed, because if I'm not mistaken, the other messers that I've checked out with them have the nagel, this nail bit sticking out on the opposite side. But if you're left-handed, then it seems like the correct one. I'm noticing just little bits here about how this stuff is finished, and I don't know where to point out, think of shipping damage versus just kind of a rustic look. But there is a worn or almost used sense to this, what is, I think, effectively a new scabbard, and I'm seeing that on a few things. There's little pings and dings and things like that, but all of it seems made of sturdy leather. The seam along the spine doesn't look stitched. It looks glued, but pretty well done. I'm noticing surface rippling. There's a rough finish to the overall presentation here. There's little kind of bits of what look like the oil or lacquer maybe used around the nagel area, tool markings, things like that I'm spotting. Asymmetry in some of the fittings, some kind of errant hammer marks that have been buffed out, but not quite buffed out, so to speak. But overall, this is a really cool, fun feeling sword. I know I'm kind of going right into the details and some of the imperfections, but as it is, this is a meaty little chopper here. Feels comfortable in the hand. It's stout, but in a sword like this, I can't say that it's necessarily problematic to be maybe a little bit on the heavier side. It still has a sense of mobility to it, but it certainly has some heft too. Interesting. Ian said he was sending a couple swords. I did not realize we have such a plethora of things to choose from. All right, now I don't know what model this particular sword is, but I just want to note that so I don't harp on it the whole time. As I'm looking at some of the scabbards here, I'm guessing I'm going to have a lot of the same feedback across the swords, and that is that there's roughness, asymmetry, kind of a handmade aesthetic to them, wherein they don't look stamped out, they don't look machine made in the strictest sense. Obviously they're using kind of power tools and things like that, but I don't get the sense that they're milled out. There's they wander a little bit, and some people like that aesthetic, some people don't, but that's going to be feedback that I think I'm going to have on every one of the swords. So rather than harp on that every single time, I'm just going to note kind of what I do like. Right away, this one, a little longer, I'm surprised at how nimble this feels in comparison to the previous kind of short, stout one. This has obviously a lot more reach to it, but in comparison, it feels a little bit more lively despite having some extra length. That's pretty neat. So this has a a skeleton kind of laid in the leather work here, holding, I don't know what he's holding, tambourine, drumsticks, not sure, but it's cool looking, and I kind of like the roughness of the texture and the skeleton. I think that's pretty cool looking. It's a hardy knife. I don't know if I'm actually a fan of the way the knife feels in particular. I have a large hand grip. This anyway, I'll play with it more before I elaborate. But I think the scabbard and how aesthetically it looks is pretty cool. I like that a lot. That is a cool feature. On the next one here, first noticing this shape that's got like a rivet through it, and then some sort of floral. I don't know if it's a maple leaf or a pine tree or what I'm looking at exactly, but it has a little bit more elaborate detail here, and it looks like some of the solder work has stained the outer edge. I'm not sure what to make of some of the effects on here. Got some more kind of cut-in leather work here rather than stamped in like the skeleton was. Well, I think the skeleton probably had similar effects. I like this kind of wrapped cord here. We've got these little bitty knives here. Fit in the scabbard. Little pokey guys. All right. So this is fun. It's got some detail work on here that, doesn't line up perfectly, but for some reason I kind of dig the way it fits in this sword more than on the knife, for example. I think that this aesthetically just has a lot of unique characteristics to it. I can still make out all the same kind of complaints, but they blend together in a way that I don't know. I'm kind of digging on this one. These don't look like the quillins that popped out. So I can notice surface ripples here, but less. And again, in the blade I make out the fuller's kind of finish and marginally different areas. I'm also noticing a little bit of spotting here. This might be because it wasn't shipped in oil, but I see some surface rust beginning to accumulate that don't look like the result of tool marks. So see a slight nick in the edge here. Small, and then the tip doesn't look... It looks like it has a specific side. It doesn't look symmetrical. I'm not a fan of that. But this has I don't know. Well, I'll have to see how I like moving this around. It doesn't feel like it's gonna jam into my wrist inherently. I'm not sure where I hold this. I'll have to look it up. So as a Katzbalger, I don't know how to use the sword in particular, and this grip is very, very slender. But the sword feels comfortable, and it narrows out really significantly. It has a really pleasant profile to it, and it feels pretty sharp. This will be a fun one to cut with. I don't know if it'll give me the same experience as a Viking sword where I'm going to hurt myself and it's going to jam in my wrist, but it doesn't feel like that's necessarily going to be the case. There's a lot to unpack on this one, but I think it's certainly a very handsome sword. So we got stitching on the scabbard here. howdy sword. That is a big, imposing sword right there. I like the three fullers. I like how they kind of roll off. It doesn't look like... Well, maybe. So this looks like the quillin with some damage, and what I'm noticing here is that it seems to bend a little, but so does this one. It looks like they're both kind of canted slightly. That is a hardy and hefty sword. Oh, she's a big girl. Yeah, I don't even think this is going to all fit in frame. I mean, in comparison, no, I don't really have anything to show you in comparison. But this feels like a big two-handed sword for certain. I'm looking forward to swinging it around and kind of seeing what's up with it. It has a nice profile taper. It seems well constructed. It lacks some of the elegance that the Katzbelger did. This feels, I don't know, like a little less attention was put in some of the details in terms of dynamic, but I don't know. I haven't swung it around. I'm sitting in a chair in my living room, and I don't have anywhere to really swing this, and that's what I need to do before I shit talk the sword at all. It does look big and imposing, and I can't remember which Landsknecht Emporium messer I was playing with. I don't think it was one like this, but I want to say this feels a little stouter than what I recall. But I think it's also bigger. She's a big one. Look at that. Just look at that. Okay. All right, sword friends, I need to wrap things up. I hope the unboxing has been interesting. Special thanks to sword friend Ian for sending me these things and for trusting me with his property. There's a lot of money in swords, and it's not lost on me that's an incredible amount of trust to put in some stranger from the internet. So special thanks to sword friend Ian for sending them my way. I will endeavor not to break them, to keep them in good condition, and to send them back to you in one piece. If there is anything that anyone wants to see in the reviews, anything that bears special attention or mention, please put it in the commentary down below, and if it's reasonable, I will try to include it in the review. I'm not sure what my plans are, either to do 5 separate videos or one big one about all of them. I'm not entirely sure yet, but we'll see. Anyway, overall, there's certainly an interesting aesthetic, and I get a much better feel for what Landsknecht Emporium can put out with so many examples to kind of look around at, and all of them are interesting. I might not necessarily favor all of them, but you know, there's little things that I think they do well in the dynamics of a messer or the Katzbelger. The knife, I think, is my least favorite. There's some pokey bits on here that maybe I'm just doing it wrong. But anyway, I need to spend a little bit more time before I comment more on whether or not I like them. There's certainly a lot to unpack here, certainly a lot to look at and talk about and have fun with. So I'm going to try and do some of that now, and in some future months, I will have a video about the Landsknecht Emporium stuff. Again, if there's anything you want to hear or think that I should try to focus on, throw it in the commentary down below, and I'll try to include it. Anyway, that's all I've got. Hopefully it's been interesting. Thanks again, Sword Friend Ian. Cheers, and thanks for watching.